Hi everyone, welcome to Sugar Glider Diaries. I'm Kimberly. Today is an episode of Sugar Glider Diaries Live where I just kind of talk about a general topic and then we can answer some questions on that general topic and then I post it for people to then, oh my goodness sakes. Oh my, wow. Well, this is live, isn't it? This is the kind of stuff that would get edited out is what would happen, but that's not what's happening today. Okay. Oh, there we go. There's my light better anyway. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about sugar glider pouches and safety. So one thing that I did not understand for a very long time was like, what's the big deal about sugar glider pouches? On a lot of these Facebook groups or different breeders or vendors or whatever will talk about like, oh, this is a safe pouch. This is not a safe pouch. Don't just buy things from whoever. You have to make sure that they're made safely. And then you see all kinds of different pouches that are marketed as being safe. And so it's just very confusing because it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? And so disclaimer, I do not know how to sew. So that's not where I'm going to be coming from. I'm not going to be talking to you about the technical how to sew a safe sugar glider pouch. I know that there's YouTube videos about that. I don't know which ones to recommend or anything like that. What I'm going to talk to you about is why I am very, very, very selective about what vendors I choose to support and recommend. Now, I used to be a little bit more broad with, I say, oh, yeah, you know, as long as it's approved in whatever group, then great, go ahead. Once you've been a part of the sugar glider community for any length of time, you'll realize that many people that claim to be making safe things, even people that have been approved, in time, it can show that they maybe are not doing things the right way. So I want to talk about sugar glider pouches. And at the end, I'm going to be making a whole separate video about this, but I want to talk about an alternative. So say you really want to do things the right way, the safe way, but you don't have the money right now to buy a whole new cage set because you're realizing your stuff is not safe. So what you could do is, I'll talk about that at the end, okay? So these pouches that I just grabbed. I believe all of these are from the Suggie Flower Fairy. She's one of the 2 vendors. I think I only currently recommend 2 vendors that do the sewn stuff. And you'll see when you're inspecting this whole thing, you can't find one stitch. There's not an exposed stitch. And that seems like, you know, what in the world? So like even when you pull this apart, you can see how tight those stitches are together. So that means it's not very likely for a glider to get their little fingernail or something, or their little fingers stuck in there or caught on a stitch, or have the thread get loose and then wrap around a limb. Now, the problem is that a lot of times from the outside, something could be completely done correctly. So you'll see that these have, I think they're called a box seam. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But they pull out, so it's 2 layers thick with anti-pill fleece. And there's also on the inside of this, which I can't see, no one can see unless you cut it open. You also have ways to go about the seams where the extra thread is cut off, and there's techniques that make it to where if a glider was to chew through a pouch, which doesn't happen a lot but can absolutely happen and has happened, if they chew through a pouch and they get inside, that it's not to say that it's impossible for them to get injured inside, because obviously they've now destroyed part of the pouch and compromised its safety, but you want to reduce the risk that the glider could actually get injured on the inside of that pouch that they chewed open, because there's certain techniques that people that are seasoned they're doing these the right way, would have done. There's a certain type of stitch, the trimming off the excess, things like that. So there's a group that Sugar Glider Groupies, I believe, is the group that does a blind test, and they will actually cut them open and make sure that they're the vendors that they're recommending are actually doing the right way. So I'm pretty sure it's Sugar Glider Groupies. I'll put that in the description box though, what group has in my opinion, has the highest caliber, gotta love live, of approved vendor regulations. So there's all different kinds of pouches. Some have these little things. They love these that they can pull in and they kind of like tuck themselves in. It's really cute. So there's that piece. If you're in a position where you're like, I got my stuff just off of some random person on Etsy, I have no idea if it's safe, or I got it off of Amazon, there have been gliders, and I've seen people report and I've seen pictures, but obviously I've never had firsthand knowledge of this, so it has to be all alleged. But there have been gliders that have died from Amazon cage sets. They get things wrapped around and they suffocate, or they get amputations, and it's just terrible. So really, I mean, I know it sounds like just over the top, but be really, really careful about who you get cage sets from. Toys are a lot easier to do safely if you know the basics. Sewing is kind of a whole other thing. So you want to be really careful. If you're at a position where you're like, man, now what do I do? I don't live in a country where I can get this stuff safely, or I just spent all my money on these cage sets and now I know they're not safe. What am I supposed to do? So what you could do is go get some anti-pill fleece from wherever, from a Walmart or from a fabric store, anti-pill fleece, cut it into little strips. So you make like little blankies, get like a little plastic container and shove that full of those. They will make a little nest in there. If you can find something that has a lid with a large enough exit for them to get in and out of, not a solid lid, obviously, and make a little nesting box. That would be way better than having unsafe pouches that hang in the cage. So I hope that makes sense. I think that really kind of sums up the main parts of what I wanted to talk about with the pouches and the safety and why it's so important. I can't emphasize this enough. I know this is not something that people think is going to happen to them until it happens, but you don't want to get into a position where your glider has been injured and then you're now going, oh my gosh, did I do something wrong? You know, you want to provide the best things for your gliders. Now, you could have a completely unsafe pouch and unsafe toys in the cage for years and nothing might happen. But that's not what I'm ever going to advocate for. I'm not going to tell you to play Russian roulette with your glider's safety. So that being said, I will always be very, very limited on who I actually recommend because of that. I've had experiences where there was somebody that I recommended and then there's a bunch of stuff that came out and I was like, okay, you know what? I guess I don't, it's really, really hard to know who to trust. And yes, somebody just commented, I saw, if you do have a glider that is chewing through their pouches, so they're actually getting to that in-between part that we talked about earlier, and you want to try to prevent that. A couple things you can do before moving to just like a nesting box would be to take a bunch of those little anti-pill fleece pieces and shove them in the pouch so they have something to chew on and mess with without it being the pouch. And also I've heard if you take some cork bark that you get like from a pet store, you clean it really, really well, boil it in hot water, scrub it really, really good. But if you take those cork bark pieces that you get from a pet store after it's been cleaned and you put that in the bottom, it gives them something to chew while they're in the pouch besides the pouch, if that makes sense. So anyway, but just if you have a chewer, make sure you're looking at those pouches every day. So I hope that was helpful. Like I said, once I post this, this will go down for a little bit. I'll let it load. I'll fill in the description box with the vendors that I do recommend. The Suggie Flower Fairy is amazing. She ships worldwide. She's based in the UK. A lot of the stuff that I have now is from her. And also Morgs and Friends. I have a lot of pouches from her, and I still recommend those guys. So I would recommend doing that, but just be really cautious about who you're going and supporting. Like I said, something could look great from the outside, and that's the scary thing, is you don't know what the inside looks like. And if you're willing to take that risk, then that's totally your prerogative. But for me personally, I want to support vendors that are doing things ethically, that are doing things responsibly, and that if there was an off chance that my gliders chewed through, that they wouldn't be getting their, there would be the precautions taken in the sewing process to prevent, lower the risk of them getting injured once they chewed through the pouch. So that's all I had to say about that. I hope that was helpful and informative. Feel free to carry on the discussion in the description box, or not the description box, in the comment section. All these things I would edit out if it wasn't live, but this is live, so you get the full thing. All right, guys, have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Oh, no, I never remember. Oh, there we go. Bye.